Noah Smith was in his office, a spacious area with windows that offered a stunning view of the city, surrounded by an air of success that he had created himself. The environment was filled with collaborators, investors, and admirers, all eager to hear the presentation of his latest product line. He stood up from his chair, adjusted his tie, and smiled confidently. For him, that was just another moment of consecration. "Ladies and gentlemen," Noah began, with a firm and resonant voice. "Today, I am here to present to you the innovation that will revolutionize our sector." He gestured dramatically toward the screen, where colorful slides displayed rising graphs and images of sophisticated products. "This line is not just a product, it is a promise that we are ready to dominate the market." The applause echoed, and he felt like a rock star, surrounded by admirers. However, while the audience cheered him on, Noah barely heard the murmurs of concern from his team in the background. The marketing manager, Evelyn, looked at her colleagues with a worried expression. "I don't know, guys. This expansion seems too risky, especially with the unstable economic situation." "Noah has always been like this," replied Oliver, the financial director. "He doesn't listen to anyone. He thinks he can do everything alone." Noah continued his presentation, ignoring the nervous glances around him. To him, success was a matter of faith in his own vision. And as you can see, the numbers speak for themselves. "We are ready to take this step, and believe me, it will be a giant leap for our company." The investors, many of them with excited expressions, were ready to embark on the adventure. "Noah, do you really believe this expansion is timely?" one of them asked, trying to sound cautious. "The markets are volatile, and many are pulling back." "With all due respect," Noah replied, almost disdainfully. "I have a plan. And plans only work when someone has the courage to implement them. We will turn uncertainty into opportunity. Trust me." He turned to the audience, where admiring faces were nodding and cheering, supporting his bold vision. That same afternoon, a board meeting was called. Noah did not expect it, but his team was uneasy. As soon as he entered the room, the atmosphere was tense. The directors exchanged hesitant glances before speaking. "Noah, we need to discuss the expansion strategy," Evelyn began cautiously, her voice trembling slightly. "The economic situation is deteriorating. The risks are high, and many analysts are predicting a recession." Noah crossed his arms, a smug smile forming on his lips. "You're exaggerating. I am not a novice in the market. I have years of experience. What you all need to understand is that in life, the greatest rewards come from the greatest risks. I will not let fear dictate our actions." "But Noah," Oliver interjected, "we cannot ignore the data. Sales are falling, and the projections are not good. We need to be prudent." "Prudent? That's for the weak. We are an innovative company. If we don't move forward now, we will lose our position in the market. And I will not allow that to happen," he said, his voice raised, nearly shouting. There was an intensity in his gaze that made it clear he was not willing to yield. Silence enveloped the room. The directors exchanged glances, but no one dared to argue. Noah was convinced he was right. He had built his empire on his own determination, and he would not let anyone tell him what to do. Decided, he asserted, closing the meeting. "Let's move forward with the expansion." As the meeting dispersed, a sense of discomfort lingered among the team members. They knew something was about to go wrong. but Noah's voice was a storm that drowned out their concerns. Days passed, and the economy began to show clear signs of an impending crisis. The news on television spoke of mass bankruptcies and companies closing their doors. Noah, however, continued to ignore the signs. In his world, the crisis was merely an opportunity to stand out. He was so immersed in his own vision that he did not see the storm forming around him. One afternoon, while Noah was in a meeting with an investor, the phone rang. The shrill sound cut through the conversation, and he answered without taking his eyes off the investor. "Noah, you need to see this," Evelyn said, panicking. "The numbers have dropped drastically. We need to act now." "We don't have time for that," he replied, gesturing with his hands, trying to dismiss her concern. "This meeting is crucial. We have to maintain the investors' confidence. If they realize we are in trouble, it will be the end." At that moment, Noah did not realize he was trapped in a snare he had built himself. The investor said goodbye, and Noah sat at his desk, looking at the graphs that had once been promising but were now becoming an avalanche of red numbers. The feeling of despair began to settle in his stomach. In a few days, the financial crisis hit the country with full force. The abrupt stock market crash and mass withdrawals from investors left the company on the brink of bankruptcy. Noah, who had always considered himself invulnerable, now found himself confronted with a devastating scenario. Facing the investors who once cheered for him, he felt the weight of failure. "Noah, we need answers," said one of the investors, his voice grave. "What happened to our trust in you?" Noah tried to maintain his composure, but the reality was undeniable. "We are just going through an adjustment. Things will get better," he said, more to himself than to the investors. Despair was turning into anger, and he didn't know how to cope with it. Days later, the situation worsened. The board meeting was marked by a funeral-like atmosphere. As soon as he entered the room, he found his team's faces drained and worried. "Noah, things are not good," Evelyn said, almost in a whisper. "We have to consider the possibility of shutting down." Noah felt as if the ground was opening up beneath his feet. "No, we can't do that. I won't let that happen," he shouted, but the determination in his voice sounded empty. At that moment, the door opened, and his wife, Emma, entered. She looked pale, with tears in her eyes. "Noah," she began, her voice choked with emotion, "I can't do this anymore. I can't live with someone who doesn't believe in himself and who destroys everything around him." Noah looked at her, confused. "You can't leave me now. I need you. You don't see me, Noah. You never saw me. You only see yourself," Emma said, before leaving the room, taking with her the last hope he had. The fall was swift and cruel. Within days, Noah watched his company crumble. He was now in a place he had never imagined, helpless and alone. The doors that once opened for him were now closing, and the arrogance that had sustained him for so long crumbled like sand between his fingers. Sitting at his empty desk, Noah felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He had lost everything: his company, his investors, and, most importantly, his wife. The echo of his own arrogance resonated in his mind as he wondered if there was any way to start over. Noah Smith walked the cold streets of the city, the sun already setting on the horizon, painting the sky a vibrant orange that contrasted with the gray of the asphalt. He felt the weight of loneliness on his shoulders, each step reminded him of his new condition. The arrogance that once supported him had now transformed into a burden he didn't know how to carry. Without money, without friends, and now without a home, Noah was forced to confront the reality he had neglected for so long. The first night on the street was a terrifying experience. The cold penetrated his bones, and insecurity kept him awake. He curled up in a corner, wrapped in an old coat that barely protected him from the biting wind. His stomach growled, reminding him of all the meals he had taken for granted in the past, but asking for help from strangers felt like a monumental, almost impossible task. He looked around and saw other homeless people, individuals who, despite their circumstances, seemed to support one another. A group of men and women shared laughter and stories, a scene of camaraderie that felt strange to him. How can they be happy here, he thought, with a mix of disdain and curiosity. The next day, hunger forced him to move. With hesitant steps, Noah headed to a small cafe he had seen along the way. He hesitated at the door, observing the bustle inside. People were chatting animatedly, the aromas of bread and fresh coffee filling the air. It was a world he had left behind, a world where he was a king and people revered him. Now, he was just another homeless person. "Please, sir, a spare change," the voice of a woman interrupted his thoughts. She was sitting on the sidewalk, with a tired yet gentle expression. Her eyes sparkled with an understanding Noah had never experienced. He hesitated, his lips moving to protest, but nothing came out. The old woman smiled, a smile that seemed to carry the wisdom of 1,000 lives. "Don't be ashamed, my son. We all need help sometimes." Noah felt a knot form in his throat. He wasn't used to depending on anyone. "I don't need charity," he replied, trying to maintain his dignity. But the truth was that he had nowhere to go, and the reality of his situation was overwhelming. "Charity? No, my young man, this isn't charity. It's solidarity. No one is above another. We are all human," the woman said, her voice soft, calming the storm inside him. "My name is Mrs. Amelia. What you need, I can help with." He didn't know how to react. Her words echoed in his mind like a mantra. He was so lost in his thoughts that he didn't realize when she got up and went to the makeshift stall she had set up. She returned shortly with a slice of bread and some hot soup. "Here, eat. An empty stomach doesn't help you think straight." Noah looked at the food, his stomach growling in hunger. He hesitated, but the smell of the soup drew him in. "Why do you do this?" he asked, his voice choked. "Because one day, I was also at rock bottom. And someone extended a hand to me. Now, I do the same for others," Mrs. Amelia replied, sitting beside him. She looked into his eyes, and Noah felt vulnerable, as if she could see through his facade. As he ate, Noah observed the interactions around him. The homeless people talked, laughed, and shared stories. There was a warmth there that he had never valued before. The contrast with his old world of business was striking. He remembered cold meetings, where people were just numbers on a chart, and success was measured in money and power. Here, what mattered was connection, empathy. "It's funny," he said, still chewing. "I spent my whole life trying to be better than others, and now I'm here, asking for help. Sometimes, we need to lose everything to find what truly matters," Mrs. Amelia replied, looking at him with a glimmer in her eyes. "What is worthwhile in life is not what we have, but the people we touch and who touch us." That resonated in Noah like a distant echo, something he had ignored for too long. He thought of his former life, of the people he had hurt, of the friends he had lost due to his arrogance. He looked at Mrs. Amelia, a woman who, despite her hardships, still found the strength to help others. "You are an incredible person," he said, in admiration. "I just do what I can," she replied, with a modest smile. "But you can also be incredible, young man. Just open your heart and learn to look beyond yourself." Noah fell silent, absorbing her words. He knew he had much to reflect on, but for a moment, he felt a spark of hope. He was not alone. As he watched Mrs. Amelia interact with other homeless people, he realized how she was a central figure, a bridge between those who were lost. The way she cared for each of them, as if she truly valued their stories, made Noah question his own life. The day passed, and as the sunlight faded, more people gathered around Mrs. Amelia. He began to feel part of something greater, something that didn't require power or wealth. It was a community, a support network where everyone had a role. And for the first time in a long while, Noah felt a little lighter. "Mrs. Amelia, can I help you in some way?" "I don't have much, but maybe I can do something," he said, sincerity shining through his voice. She smiled, her gaze lighting up. "Just share what you have, my young man. What matters is the heart. If you're willing to help, there will always be something you can do." Noah realized that even in his total despair, there was room for change, for growth. He looked once more at the warm interactions around him and began to understand that his life was made of choices. He could continue to wallow in self-pity or, perhaps, reinvent himself. That night, as he settled into a safer corner, he felt a breath of hope. He didn't know what the future held, but he was beginning to see a new perspective. What once seemed like an endless abyss now presented itself as an opportunity to rediscover the humanity he had lost. And, as night fell, he decided that he would take the first step toward this new life. Noah Smith was determined to change his life. The bitter experience of losing everything he had led him down a new path, and he no longer wanted to be that arrogant and insensitive man. It was time to learn humility and the value of hard work. That's how he found himself in front of a small mechanic's workshop, where the smell of oil and the clanging of tools created a vibrant and active environment. The place was simple, but for Noah, it was a new beginning. Oscar, an experienced mechanic with graying hair and calloused hands, was the one who welcomed him. He looked at Noah with a mix of curiosity and compassion. "So, you're the new helper?" Oscar asked, with a smile that showed a bit of warmth but also a hint of skepticism. Noah, still wearing clothes that were not suitable for work, nodded. "Yes, that's me. I'm here to learn," Noah replied, trying to hide the insecurity in his voice. "Learn, huh? Well, welcome to the real world then. Here, there's no room for ego. You're going to sweat if you want to be part of this," Oscar said as he picked up a wrench and prepared to start the day's work. The weeks that followed were challenging. Noah spent most of his time on his feet, fixing cars and listening to Oscar's stories about the ups and downs of life. The mechanic was a natural storyteller and shared with Noah not only his skills but also valuable lessons about perseverance and resilience. One afternoon, while adjusting an engine, Noah asked Oscar, "How do you manage to stay so positive, even after so many years working here?" Oscar paused, looked at Noah, and replied, "Life is all about choices, my friend. I could complain, but I prefer to see the bright side of things. The work is hard, but it brings a sense of accomplishment. And believe me, what matters is how you face each challenge." Noah reflected on his words. He was so used to avoiding difficulties and challenges in his old life that he didn't understand the satisfaction that came from hard work. Over time, he began to feel more comfortable in the workshop and more confident in himself. He learned to fix cars, deal with customers, and even make some sales. Life in the workshop was simple but full of meaning. One morning, while they were working, Noah received a message from one of his former team members, Archie. He hesitated before opening the message, remembering how he had treated his past relationships. When he finally read it, the text was clear and direct. "Hi, Noah. I'm worried about you. If you need help, we're here." A mix of shame and gratitude flooded his heart. "Oscar, do you think I should respond?" Noah asked, his voice hesitant. "Of course. They care about you. And you know, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness," Oscar replied, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. "It's a way of acknowledging that you're not alone." Noah took a deep breath and decided it was time to reconnect. He typed a response thanking them for their concern and expressed his desire to meet his old team for coffee. The message was sent, and a strange feeling of hope blossomed within him. The following week, he arranged a meeting at a cafe near the workshop. When he arrived, his heart raced at the sight of familiar faces. Archie was there, along with other colleagues. "Noah!" Archie exclaimed, standing up to greet him with a hug. "It's good to see you back. It's good to be here." "Thank you for reaching out," Noah replied, feeling a bit out of place but excited. The group began to chat about old times, but the conversation quickly shifted. "We're thinking about how we can rebuild the company, Noah. Would you be willing to help us?" "We know you have experience," said one of the colleagues, a woman named Fernanda. Noah hesitated. "I'm in a different place now. I don't know if I'm the right person for this. You're the only one who can bring the vision we need." Experience doesn't disappear, Noah. And, more importantly, you've learned something about humility and teamwork. That's essential, Archie insisted. Archie's words struck Noah deeply. He realized that his experiences in the workshop had prepared him for this moment. "I would love to help. But I'd like to do it in a different way, focusing on values and how we can support each other," Noah said, feeling more confident. The conversation flowed, and the idea of rebuilding the company began to take shape. They discussed how they could approach the public in a new and empathetic way. Noah shared his ideas and realized that, even without his former financial power, he still had a lot to offer. By the end of the meeting, Noah said goodbye to his colleagues, feeling invigorated. He returned to the workshop, where Oscar was waiting for him. "So, how was it?" the mechanic asked with a curious look. "It was amazing. They want to rebuild the company, and I can help. I feel like I'm part of something bigger now," Noah replied, a genuine smile on his face. Oscar smiled back. "That's what happens when you learn to open up to others. Don't underestimate the power of teamwork." In the days that followed, Noah worked in the workshop during the day and dedicated his nights to planning the future of the old company. He and his team communicated frequently, exchanging ideas and strategies. What started as a casual conversation in a cafe was turning into a new opportunity for all of them. One night, while reviewing some documents, Noah received an unexpected call. It was Emma, his ex-wife. "Noah, can we meet?" I have something important to discuss, she said, with a serious tone. Noah's heart raced. He didn't know what to expect, but he accepted the invitation. The meeting was set for the next day at a restaurant they used to frequent before everything fell apart. When Noah entered the restaurant, he saw Emma sitting at a table, looking at the menu, but her expression was distant. He approached her, and as he sat down, he felt the palpable tension in the air. "Hi, Emma. How are you?" he asked, trying to break the ice. "I'm fine, and you?" she replied, avoiding eye contact. "I'm trying to start over. I found a job at a mechanic's workshop, and I'm reconnecting with old colleagues," Noah said, with a bit of hesitation. Emma looked at him, surprised. "A mechanic's workshop? This is different," she said, with a slight smile that seemed genuine but carried a weight of distrust. "I know it might seem strange, but I'm learning a lot of things. Mainly about myself. I want to change, Emma. I want to be a better person," Noah confessed, feeling a mix of vulnerability and hope. Emma sighed and finally looked him in the eyes. "Noah, I want to believe you. But it's not easy for me. You need to show me that you've really changed." He nodded, understanding her distrust. "I understand. If you give me a chance, I promise I will prove it. I don't want to be that man who only thinks of himself anymore." Emma observed him for a moment, as if weighing his words. "Okay, let's see. But remember, actions speak louder than words." Noah smiled, a genuine smile. He knew the road ahead would still be long and full of challenges, but for the first time in a long time, he felt he was on the right path. Life had taught him hard lessons, but now he was ready to face them head-on, with humility and determination. Noah Smith sat at the table of a small cafe, with a notebook in hand and determination etched on his face. The smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air, mixed with the aroma of warm bread coming from the oven. It was a sunny morning, but the daylight seemed to reflect more than just the beauty of the outside world. It also illuminated the new perspective Noah was beginning to embrace. Inspired by Mrs. Amelia's kindness, he decided it was time to invest his savings in something that could truly make a difference, not just in his life, but in the lives of others. A homemade food delivery business, Noah murmured to himself as he jotted down ideas in the notebook. A way to rescue what is simple, to value what really matters. He thought of the food Mrs. Amelia prepared, full of love and flavor, and how those moments of sharing had touched him deeply. With a deep sigh, he picked up the phone and called Oscar, his friend and mentor at the mechanic shop. "Oscar, can you help me with an idea I have?" "Sure, Noah. What's going on?" Oscar replied, his voice full of enthusiasm. "I'm thinking of starting a homemade food delivery business. Something that brings a bit of comfort to people, just like Mrs. Amelia did for me. But I don't know where to start." "That's a great idea," Oscar exclaimed. "I've always believed that food has the power to bring people together. Let's meet up and plan this together." After hanging up, Noah felt a wave of hope wash over his heart. He began to make a list of dishes, thinking about how he could recreate the simple yet heartfelt recipes that Mrs. Amelia served. The day passed quickly, and soon he found himself at Oscar's house, surrounded by paper and pen, discussing the initial steps for his new journey. "We need to think of a name," Oscar suggested as he looked at the list of dishes Noah had prepared. "How about Taste of Home?" "Taste of Home. I like it. Noah replied, excited. It's warm and conveys the essence of what I want to offer. In the days that followed, Noah threw himself into the new venture. He conducted market research, spoke with other entrepreneurs, and even visited local fairs to better understand the competition. With each new step, he felt he was reconnecting with a part of himself that he had lost amid pride and unchecked ambition. However, it didn't take long for challenges to arise. Soon, during his first delivery attempt, Noah faced a series of setbacks. He had no idea how to manage the logistics of the business, and the deliveries ended up being late. An unhappy customer left a negative review on his social media, and frustration washed over him. What am I doing wrong? Noah vented to Oscar, who was by his side, observing the situation. I thought I could make this work. Every business has its ups and downs, Oscar said, with an understanding tone. The important thing is to learn from the mistakes. Let's analyze what happened and adjust what's necessary. Noah agreed, determined not to let obstacles discourage him. He began to work more intensively, learning about time management and the importance of good communication with his customers. With Oscar's help, he started to outline a more efficient plan, from meal preparation to delivery. They trained together, practicing how to communicate better with customers, how to handle criticism, and how to make the best use of time. Amid this whirlwind, Noah decided it was time to seek help from Mrs. Amelia as well. He invited her for coffee, and while they enjoyed tea and cookies, he shared his plan. Mrs. Amelia, I want you to be a part of this. Your recipes are incredible, and I would love for you to help me prepare the food for my business. What do you think? Noah asked, his eyes shining. Mrs. Amelia looked at him with a warm smile. Oh, my boy, that would be wonderful. Homemade food is made with love, and I would love to share a little bit of that with people. But tell me, are you prepared for the hard work that lies ahead? I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Noah replied, conviction radiating in his voice. In the following days, Noah and Mrs. Amelia began working together. He helped her with shopping, learned to prepare the dishes, and listened to stories about how each recipe held a special meaning. As they worked side by side, Noah began to understand the value of the small things, the simplicity, and the effort that each dish represented. Look, Noah, food is more than sustenance. It's a hug, a memory, a celebration, Mrs. Amelia would say as she chopped onions and carrots. When you deliver a dish, you're delivering a little bit of yourself. These words resonated deeply with Noah. He began to see his business not merely as a way to make money, but as a way to touch people's lives in a meaningful way. Each delivery became an opportunity to create connections, to offer comfort, and to reclaim the essence of what truly mattered. However, competition intensified. Other food delivery companies, more established and with more resources, began to notice the growth of Taste of Home. Noah started receiving complaints from customers who didn't see his service as competitive. He felt the pressure, and insecurity threatened to take hold of him once again. Oscar, I don't know if this is going to work. There are so many companies out there, and I'm just a novice, Noah said, his voice trembling. Noah, you have something they don't, authenticity. The food you and Mrs. Amelia make comes from the heart. People will notice that. Stand firm and keep improving what you offer. The secret is in doing what you love, Oscar replied confidently. These words were a balm for Noah. He decided he would not give up. With the support of Mrs. Amelia and Oscar, he began to diversify the menu, adding dishes that reflected local culture and were accessible to everyone. He also started using social media to share the story behind each dish, showcasing the care and dedication that he and Mrs. Amelia put into each meal. Gradually, Noah began to see an increase in orders. Customers started sharing their experiences on social media, and Taste of Home began to gain recognition in the community. The emotional connection Noah was creating with his customers was making a difference. He realized that true success was not just about sales, but about the ability to touch people's hearts. At that moment, Noah understood that his purpose had completely changed. He was no longer the arrogant businessman who only sought profits. Now, he was a man who valued relationships, simplicity, and the love that each meal could convey. He was finally finding himself amid all that chaos, transforming the pain of loss into a new beginning full of hope. The sun began to set, painting the sky a vibrant orange when Noah Smith arrived at the community space where the new community of entrepreneurs was gathering. The aroma of homemade food lingered in the air, a reminder of how his life had changed in recent months. He felt lighter, more connected to the people around him. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and animated conversations, a scene that, not long ago, he would have considered trivial. Now, every interaction seemed meaningful. Noah walked through the entrance, waving to a few people he recognized. Among them was Roberta, an entrepreneur who had opened a small flower shop. She approached him with a warm smile. "Noah! Great to see you here. How's your food business going?" "Hi, Roberta. It's going well, thank God. I've learned a lot from Oscar and Mrs. Amelia. The community has really embraced the idea," Noah replied, feeling genuine pride as he mentioned them. It was a new feeling, a joy that came from sharing. "That's great. I always say that together we are stronger. We need to support each other," Roberta said, her voice full of enthusiasm. "Have you thought about partnering up? We could organize an event to promote our businesses." Noah paused for a moment. The idea of collaboration was something he had learned to value, especially after his downfall. "Yes, we can do that. The idea of joining forces to promote our products is excellent. Let's discuss it further." As the conversation flowed, Noah observed the joy on the faces of the people around him. He realized that for a long time, he had lived in a bubble of selfishness, where competition was seen as the only form of success. Now he understood that true fulfillment came from unity and mutual support. As the night progressed, the event officially began. The founders of the community took the stage, welcoming everyone and explaining the group's goals, to create an environment of cooperation and growth. Noah sat and absorbed every word. It was inspiring to see how ordinary people were rising up and helping each other, transforming their lives. When it was his turn to speak, Noah felt a chill in his stomach. He was not used to exposing his vulnerabilities, but he knew it was necessary. "Good evening, everyone. My name is Noah Smith, and I am one of the new members of this community. For those who don't know me, I used to be a successful businessman, but life has taught me some hard lessons. Today, I am here to share a bit of my journey and, more importantly, to learn from all of you," he began, feeling the curious gazes of the audience. "I lost everything, but I gained something much more valuable, the understanding that true success is not measured in money, but in connections and mutual support. I am here to build something new, and I hope we can do this together." After his presentation, he was surrounded by people wanting to chat and share their own stories. It was an enriching experience, and Noah felt increasingly part of that community. He realized how the experiences of each person there were unique, yet somehow interconnected. That same night, as Noah headed home, a sense of renewal accompanied him. He felt he was on the right path, but life had more surprises in store. At a future event, he would reunite with Emma. The day of the community event arrived, and Noah was nervous. He knew Emma would be there. The last time they met had been tense, and he was anxious to show how he had changed. When he saw her, his heart raced. She was chatting with some acquaintances, but as soon as their eyes met, Emma smiled. Noah approached, taking a deep breath. "Emma, it's great to see you," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Hi, Noah. You seem different," she commented, looking at him with curiosity. "I really have been trying to change. I'm involved in a new project and, more importantly, learning to value the people around me. It's a transformative experience." "I'm glad to hear that. What are you doing now?" Emma asked, her interest evident. Noah began to explain about the homemade food delivery business and how the community was supporting him. He spoke with passion, something he hadn't felt in a long time. "Mrs. Amelia has been a true inspiration to me. She always says that food is a way to connect people, and I wholeheartedly agree." "That's beautiful, Noah. I've always known you had a good heart, but sometimes it was overshadowed by your ego," Emma replied, a gentle smile on her face. "It's good to see you're reconnecting with that. I've made many mistakes, and I know I can't change the past. But I want to redeem myself and make a difference, even if it's small," Noah said, looking into her eyes. "I still care about you, and I would like the chance to show that I am different." "I hope so, Noah. But remember, trust is hard to rebuild," Emma said, the sincerity in her voice palpable. "I need to see that this isn't just a phase." Noah nodded, understanding the complexity of what was at stake. "I only ask for a chance. I'm willing to work for it." The conversation flowed naturally, and they ended up talking for hours. The event was ongoing, but Noah and Emma were in their own world, reminiscing about past moments and discussing the changes each had faced. As the night drew to a close, Noah realized he was at a crossroads. His new life was filled with opportunities but also challenges. He had a growing business and the support of a community that truly cared for him. However, the large food company that had shown interest in his idea, and that somehow still attracted him with its financial security, could change everything. He said goodbye to Emma, promising they would stay in touch. With a lighter heart but a restless mind, Noah arrived home. He sat at his desk, looking at the papers of the business that was now his pride. The decision ahead would not be easy. He questioned what truly mattered, financial security or the personal fulfillment he had found in the daily struggle for his dream. Sleepless nights were becoming common again, but this time it was different. He was not just worried about numbers and business but about what he was building and who was by his side. The voices of the community, the affection of Mrs. Amelia, and the possibility of a fresh start with Emma echoed in his mind. And deep down, Noah knew that the real choice he had to make was between what was easy and what was right. Noah looked out the window of his small office, where he now managed the homemade food delivery business. The sun was setting on the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink, but in his heart, there was a storm. The recent proposal to sell his company weighed heavily on him. The large food company had launched a negative campaign, attacking not only his products but also his reputation. That was a situation he never imagined facing again, and the feeling of helplessness overwhelmed him. "This is a war, and I'm just a soldier without armor," he murmured to himself, running his hand through his now slightly longer and disheveled hair. He remembered how he had disregarded the advice of those close to him in the past and now found himself fighting to maintain the integrity of what he had built. The door opened, and Oscar, his friend and mechanic, walked in, bringing with him the strong aroma of coffee. "You need this," Oscar said, placing a steaming cup on the table. "And you need to stop worrying so much. What they are doing is dishonest, but you have something they don't, the truth on your side." "I know, Oscar, but that doesn't pay the bills," Noah replied, taking the cup and feeling the warmth emanating from it. "And if this continues, I could lose everything again. My friendships, my business, everything." Oscar sat down, his expression serious. "You've faced a lot, Noah. Look around you. You have people who care about you now. You're not alone in this." Oscar's words echoed in Noah's mind. He remembered Mrs. Amelia and how her generosity had become a source of inspiration. Taking a deep breath, Noah decided he would not be defeated. He would not sell his business. Not like this. That same night, as he tried to sleep, the phone rang. The sound cut through the quiet of the room, and Noah answered, unsure of what to expect. On the other end was a familiar and comforting voice. "Noah, it's Archie. Remember me?" The mention of his old friend's name brought a wave of nostalgia and confusion. Archie had been one of the investors Noah had ignored during his arrogant phase, and now he was calling in such a difficult moment. "Of course I remember, Archie. What's up?" Noah tried to hide the tension in his voice. "I heard what's happening. I'm willing to help. I want to invest in your business, but with one condition." "What do you want in return?" Noah questioned, already imagining that the proposal would come with a demand that would put him in a tight spot. "I want you to keep your roots and principles. I don't want you to become what you were before. You're doing something incredible, Noah. Your food isn't just a product, it's a connection with people, a testament to overcoming challenges. I don't want you to lose that." Noah felt a mix of relief and surprise. "You really believe I can change, don't you? That I can make this work? I've always believed in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. Let's work together. You're not alone in this fight." Archie's words touched Noah in a way he didn't expect. It was as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He realized that the turning point in his life was forming not only through his actions but also through the unexpected support of people he had undervalued in the past. "I accept your help, Archie." "Let's do this," Noah said, feeling determination rising within him. "But we need to ensure that the quality of the food and service is always a priority." "That's what I want to hear," Archie replied, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "Let's show them they can't tear down what was built with love and dedication." The next morning, Noah met with Oscar and Mrs. Amelia to discuss the next steps. He knew that to face the crisis, he would need their support. With renewed energy, he shared the good news. "I got an investor," he announced, watching their faces light up with hope. "Archie is going to help us keep the business afloat and expand. But we need to work together and stay strong." Mrs. Amelia smiled, her eyes sparkling. "That's wonderful, Noah. You don't know how much this means to us. Your success is our success." Oscar clapped his hands, excited. "So, what are we waiting for? Let's create a marketing campaign that shows the truth behind your business. People need to know what you represent." Noah nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude for those who were now his true friends. "Yes, let's do this. Let's show them we're more than just a business. We're a community." The following days were filled with hard work. Noah, Oscar, and Mrs. Amelia came together, each bringing their skills and knowledge to the table. They created a new identity for the business, one that reflected not only homemade food but also the values of friendship, solidarity, and overcoming challenges. "Let's throw a launch party to reintroduce our business to the community," Oscar suggested one day as they discussed strategies. "We can offer free tastings and invite all our friends and customers." "Yes, that's a great idea," Noah agreed, envisioning the scene. "Let's make it special. And I'll invite Archie to join us and talk about how he believes in the future of our business." The party was organized with great enthusiasm and joint effort. The day arrived, and the small street where the business was located filled with people. The aromas of homemade food filled the air, and Noah felt a warmth in his heart as he saw the community gathering around something he had created. Archie gave an emotional speech, sharing his own journey and how friendship and faith in people were fundamental to success. He spoke about Noah and how he had become an example of overcoming challenges. The words of support and encouragement resonated among those present, and Noah felt stronger than ever. "If I could go back in time and meet myself, I would tell myself that true success is not just about money and power," Noah began, his voice choked with emotion. "It's about the relationships we build, the lessons we learn, and how we can help others. Today, I want to dedicate a portion of my business profits to support Mrs. Amelia and the community." The crowd applauded, and Noah saw tears of emotion in Mrs. Amelia's eyes. His transformation was not just about rebuilding a business, but about reconstructing his life and the lives of others. In that moment, Noah realized that true wealth lay in human connections, in shared stories, and in mutual support. He had found a new purpose, one that would not just be about him, but about the community he valued so much. What once seemed like a failure had transformed into a beautiful opportunity for rebirth.